Yeah, if it pleases the chair and the committee, thank you very much for the time to be here. My name is Nim Kidd. I'm an assistant director with the Department of Public Safety, and I'm your chief of the Division of Emergency Management for the state. I've been in San Antonio this morning with about 300 of our healthcare partners representing over 60 hospitals that take care of our patients during all hazard events, so I apologize for my tardiness. I was able to listen, thankful to the technology, to some of the testimony coming up. Great questions, great conversation. A few things as the emergency management chief for the state that I want to make sure that kind of get clarified a little bit is we heard a disaster recovery term used a lot. Words are important. Disaster recovery to DIR and to SORM mean something different than they mean to our citizens. I don't do necessarily the DIR disaster recovery. I don't do the State Office of Risk Management recovery, although we do risk management at DPS. But my job is to support mayors and county judges. I know y'all know this, but for the folks in the audience and in TV land, mayors and county judges are the emergency management directors for their communities by Chapter 418 of the Texas Government Code. Our job is to make sure that all state resources, many of them you've heard from this morning, are organized together, prepared to support our local government partners, to support their citizens in preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. So I get to be the conductor of the orchestra, if you will. We have a great orchestra across the state of Texas. The Emergency Management Council has written into executive order of the state agencies that come to the State Operations Center, which you've heard about today, in order to be ready to respond. Now, I'd like to tell you, it's not just bragging, but Texas is number one. We have more major disasters, more presidentially declared disasters than every other state in the nation. And that is extremely important to understand when you realize the president grants a disaster declaration based on the state's population. So when we have public assistance damage, public infrastructure, city government, county government, certain nonprofit organizations, roads, bridges, parks, public-owned infrastructure, our state needs $35.4 million of uninsured loss before we become eligible for one declaration. New Mexico's threshold is $2.9 million. Oklahoma's is $6 million. Arkansas's is $5 million. Louisiana's is $6.5 million. So when you think about a storm that starts out in the Metroplex, starts out in Oklahoma, works its way down through the Metroplex, and runs off into Arkansas, you may see the president grant a major disaster declaration to Oklahoma and Arkansas, but not Texas. We may have had $25 million worth of public damage, but because we didn't exceed our threshold, we are not eligible for federal assistance. And I think that's something that we really need to spend time in focusing on, because while other states get disaster declarations for the same event and we don't, we saw it in Louisiana with the Sabine River flooding earlier this year. They got theirs first before we got ours. Their threshold, their bar is so much lower to be eligible for that federal assistance than ours is. So when I'm talking disaster recovery for the state of Texas, that is the type of DR that I'm referring to.